Good morning to all, and welcome to this first international conference on sustainability and climate change. In this lecture, we are blessed to have Professor Riska Sri Handayani. She is a full-time lecturer at the School of Strategic and Global Studies at University of Indonesia. And she is also, she has been a lecturer at University of Indonesia since 2023. Moreover, she has also been a lecturer at President University in Indonesia since 2021 in the International Relations Study Program. She holds a doctorate from PhD from Spanish university from University of Cordoba. So of course she speak enough well Spanish, but this interview will be led in English. She has a PhD in Social and Legal Science program and a master's degree in Culture of Peace, Conflict and Human Rights at the same university. And she obtained a bachelor degree in International Relations from University of Indonesia. Welcome, Professor Riska. Thank you for your time and for accepting our invitation. And we are waiting to talk to inform us about ASEAN cooperation on climate change. Thank you. You have the floor, please.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for inviting me. I think I don't have to introduce myself anymore.
Yeah.
At the moment, actually, I would like to talk about the climate change, about the cooperation, since I have a background education in the international relations. So I would like to talk about the how the ASEAN as the international organization, as the region organization here in the Southeast Asia, and I would like to talk about how the ASEAN cooperation on climate change, and also about some challenges and obstacles.
Thank you. Thank you. You have the floor, please. So okay. My first question on this issue, how does ASEAN at a regional organization view the problem of climate change?
Okay, all right. So climate change actually one of the most pressing concerns faced by world today, and climate change is impacting the life of many peoples, as well as in the Southeast Asia. And also Southeast Asia is one of the regions, once again, most vulnerable to the negative impact of the climate change. And with a population almost 700 million people, or exactly, I guess it's about today, more or less about the 600 million people, 688, if I'm not mistaken. So while a substantial portion of these people, they reside in coastal areas. Of course, this will give them some impact to the climate change, and biodiversity loss and sea level rise, and also extreme weather. These are just three of the effects of the climate change on the ASEANs that feel in the region of the Southeast Asia. Hence, this issue, of course, get public attention and becomes a concern. And however, the governments at the regional level, they must work together to coordinate activities, and they need to work together, however, to overcome this issue together. And also, actually, over the past few decades, the Southeast Asian countries have been actively working to address this issue together, especially in the frame of the ASEAN as the regional organization.
Thank you. So we can consider that the Asia is really deeply affected by the climate change. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what are the challenges to Asian country encounter due to this problem of climate change?
Okay. All right. Southeast Asia is known for its extensive tropical rainforest. So Southeast Asia countries are really a big area, and most of the area is considered the forest. And they have extensive tropical rainforests, which are among the most significant in the world. And however, actually, various human activities have led to the loss of much of this vital ecosystem. And this deforestation is a major contribution to the climate change in the region. And however, many countries here in the Southeast Asia, they have problem in handling like illegal logging and whatever. And also many of the like the companies that open forests for their like to plant the palm for the product of the palm oil. So that's why it also contributes to the issues of the climate change. And once again, this deforestation is a major contributor to the climate change in the region. And moreover, the destruction of the rainforest has caused numerous problems. So it's not only in the region of South Asia, but also across Asia as well. As the whole, and then other factors such as like the electricity generation, agriculture, and also livestock and transportations also play a significant role, of course, in exacerbating climate change in the Southeast Asia. And for example, this I'm going to give one example of the how deforestation recently in the Southeast Asia. In Indonesia solely, Indonesia's forests were reduced by about 1.3 million hectares in 5 years recently. So in 5 years recently, are the forests in Indonesia are reduced about 1.3 million hectares. So of course, it contributes to the climate change too. And in the end, we can see the results like increasingly frequent storm, floods and droughts, and rising sea levels, and also this quite quite horrible things actually for the people that live in the coastline, and also the issue about the high temperatures that recently we are facing this issue also, the high temperatures during the day, and also the changing rainfall patterns that are negatively impacting to the crop yields and biodiversity forests, and also by forest products, and also about the fresh water availability due to sometimes the drought season is too long, so it's quite difficult for us to have fresh water that availability.
Yeah. Really, it's so sad to hear that. About the big how to say that this enriched forest that are in Asia. It's so sad to hear that. Sure, to face this problem, of course, the Asian country have to deal with that, no? So, can you tell us if there is any effort, any plan, any program in order to come over this issue of climate change? And before you answer to my question, could you raise a bit your mic, because we can hear like okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay
Now
now?
it's better. Yeah, now it's better.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So please, what can you tell to us regarding this the effort of Asian country?
Yeah. So we have here in the Southeast Asia country, they are facing many issues related to climate change. Of course, they have to work together. They have to collaborate to make sure they can overcome this issue, right? And in response to the impact of the climate change, the ASEAN member states have actually during decades they have proactively taken measures to address the issue at the national, regional, and even in the global levels. Many of the countries here, the member of the the member of ASEAN, I mean, they join actively in global cooperation also. So it's not only in the regional level, but also in the global level. They join also in the Paris Agreement, for example, Protocol Kyoto, and many more. So while in ASEAN itself, as the organization and the regional of the Southeast Asia, so multiple initiatives have been taken in Southeast Asia under the regional organization ASEAN. So ASEAN actually consists of 11 member countries, and some of them include Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei, and many more. So for your information, by 2030, ASEAN's economy actually is expected to be the fourth largest globally. So we can imagine how the development recently in how the country try to develop their economic. And however, development in this area must be in line, of course, with the awareness of the environmental impact, right? Hence, the organization of the ASEAN, they commit to ensuring the development of the environmentally that friendly and in line with the climate resilient development. And ASEAN also called for a long-term low greenhouse gas emission development strategy. So they have also some called as the blueprint, the ASEAN blueprint that started in this implemented in this year in 2025. So one of these blueprint also include how they can manage the climate change in the region, and also, but previously as the one of their commitments in 2002, ASEAN member countries already signed the agreement on the transboundary haze pollution. So this agreement was established to prevent and monitor transboundary haze pollution that caused by land and or forest fire. So haze pollution means that smoke that resulting from land and or forest fire. As I mentioned earlier, that in many countries, especially also here in Indonesia, many people try to open the forest by firing. So it's more economically, but the result is really bad. This gives bad impact, of course, due to the smoke or the haze pollution. So it's only it would give impact not only to the area in the Indonesia, for example, but also it will cross through the air pollution. It cross to other countries such as to Singapore, Malaysia, and other neighbor countries. And of course, that's why finally ASEAN as the international organization and the region, they try to handle this issue by like establish agreement in the 2002 through the about this boundary haze pollutions. And furthermore, also in 2009, ASEAN established the Working Group on Climate Change. So this is specifically to work together in handling the issue of the climate change, particularly in the area of the Southeast Asia. And the ASEAN Working Group on Climate Change aims to enhance and to coordinate and also integrate of the efforts to address the climate change issues in Southeast Asia. So they will work together in handling this issue. And each of country, of course, they need some commitment of each country to follow up what the rules that are determined and work together to make sure that whatever that are the state there on the agreement, they can fulfill as their part of their responsibility. And currently, also the organization also has a project called the ASEAN Climate Change Strategic Plan 2025 until 2030, and this project is expected to serve as the the roadmap to accelerate the transition of the ASEAN countries toward achieving the goals of their NDCs. As you know that NDCs or nationally determined contributions embody efforts by each of country to make sure they can reduce the national emissions and adapt to the impact of the climate change. So the ASEAN Climate Change Strategic Action Plan has become a high priority in the organization. Once again, the ASEAN Climate Change Strategic Plan that started from this year, 2025 until 2030, will become a high priority of this organization in handling all issues related to the climate change. And the ultimate goal of the ASEAN Climate Change Strategic Action Plan is sustainable development. It's about sustainable development and solidarity also, and of course about the peace building. And it aligns, actually, once again, this plan, it's interesting because this plan aligns with the ASEAN Community Vision. So ASEAN, they has something called as the ASEAN Community Vision 2045. And this ASEAN climate change strategic action plan is aligned with the ASEAN Community Visions 2045, and also this aligned with the ASEAN climate visions in 2050.
So thank you. Indeed, the pollution of the environment does not recognize the borderline. So it's impossible to stop the movement. And talking about just to comment that you have your target of 2025, and it's similar of the targets of the EU, European Union, 2025, to reach the target of facing this climate change. So as we know, we can know working in team, it's not easy. So the ASEAN cooperation, there are many countries that they have to fulfill this target. So could you comment us about the accomplishment of the ASEAN cooperation in this target now, in order to tackle the climate change issue?
Okay, right. So so far we can see that ASEAN has become a forum for the member states to work together to address this issue. So multiple initiatives have been taken, and even managing climate change issues become a part of the blueprint of ASEAN Community Visions in 2025, as I mentioned earlier. So this just some of the we can say that this some of the accomplishment of the ASEAN cooperation in tackling this issue. We can see that through this initiative and cooperation agreement, we can see how actually the commitment of the ASEAN countries to work together to make sure they can handling this issue together. But however, of course, once again, this needs like political will and good willing of all of the member states of the ASEAN. So it's not an easy thing actually. But once again, since decades ago, the member countries of the ASEAN have been working together until today to make sure that everything already agreed in their agreement, and their whatever cooperation that they have must be that follow the rules and regulations. And they must also make sure that whatever their target in the handling the climate change issue can be fulfilled by the time. And as the multiple initiatives already established, it's so that the commitment of the ASEAN countries to make sure that the region will be we cannot say that finally the region will be free of the climate change issue, but at least we can reduce through the ASEAN. They can reduce any like the negative impact of the climate change by implement some of the regulations by each of the nations as the member states of the ASEAN.
So thank you for this information that help us to know this part of the world, in Asian country, So we are facing a big problem at the climate change. So of course we have to face a big challenges in fostering cooperation among member states in addressing this issue. So what you can tell us about the obstacle, the barrier that you can face in this issue?
Okay, so I would like to repeat again. Actually, in recent decades, ASEAN as an organization in Southeast Asia, there has been engaged in various cooperation among its member countries to address this issue, the climate change issues. And some of these initiatives and agreements include like the ASEAN Working Group on the Environmental Sustainable, and the ASEAN Working Group on Climate Change, and the ASEAN Agreement Transboundary Haze Pollutions, among others. And so, of course, there are also many challenges that must be faced by the ASEAN as the organization, and of course also by each of the member states. And one of the, I think it's quite clear that the Southeast Asian countries are most of them are considered the developing countries. So they still struggle to increase the economic level. And this is, of course, will become like a challenge to make sure everything that they can conduct to increase their economic will be aligned with the effort or the some of the how they struggle in the climate change management. And also, I would like to say that actually, as I mentioned also that some countries actually, I would like to inform another thing that some countries like Brunei, Darussalam, Indonesia, Malaysia, or even Vietnam and Singapore, and also Thailand, they generally have experienced significant economic development since the mid of the 1960s. And however, in the end, various cooperation agreement agreed upon the ASEAN member countries face various challenges, especially once again when dealing with economic interests of each of the countries. Sometimes not all of the countries can like sign any agreement because sometimes it's like they have conflict interest with their national interests. Of course, the first thing they must consider about their national the economic situation in the country, right? So once again, sometimes they must put the priority on the economic plan for the economic increase in the each of the nations. So those ASEAN as an organization continues to strive so that region can remain as the center. In other hand, this region can remain as the center of the global economic growth, but with environmentally friendly and climate resilient development. This a serious challenge actually. Achieving this goal requires cooperation from all or of the parties that involved. It's not easy to measure all of the countries as the member states of ASEAN. We have ASEAN has 11 countries as the member of this organization to make sure they all willing to cooperate together in handling and tackle the issues of the climate change, while in the same time they also have their own national interests, especially for some of the countries that consider still quite underdeveloped countries. They're still struggling to make sure they can fulfill the needs of the countries. So some of the for example, like some of the manufacturer, they cannot even consider about the issue of the pollutions. They just consider about how they can increase the productions to make sure they can get income and finally can give back to the country for the related to the economic growth of the country, and to make sure that every people that each of the person will have they has a job. And that's why it's about investment also. And when we talk about the investment, of course, at the end, it's also about how they willing to give some of the consequence. For example, like open the forest, like I mentioned earlier about how finally there are many open rainforests in Indonesia, for example, and this as the consequence of the development, right? And also as the one of the consequences of the investment. But at the end, the leader of each of the states, they can make sure that everything can be aligned with the global with the climate change issues. This is actually still remain as the great challenge for the ASEAN organizations to make sure that each of the countries can at the same time they have to develop their own nations, but at the same time they also must make sure that everything friendly, they have eco-friendly, and also they have any rules and regulation in the country will align with the how they put some effort in the global in the climate change issues. So once again, it's back to the good willing and political will of each of the member states of the ASEAN.
Okay, I think it's a time to mix national interest and global interest to face this issue, this big problem of climate change. There's no time. We have no time, no right to give priority to our national interests. But unfortunately, this is what is happening all the time. So I have a small question, maybe last question, regarding the deforestation of Indonesian forests in order to plant palm tree.
Yes, palm.
Can you because I worked on that. I was really unpleasantly surprised to know that a big part of Indonesian forests were deforested in order to plant tree to produce oil palm. So do you have any comment, any information to share with us, please?
Yeah, actually, Indonesia and also Malaysia, as two member states of the ASEAN, they are leading as the producer of the palm oil, right? So even in the some of the market in European markets, they have they have a really good productions, and this is one of the motivation why finally some of the countries like Indonesia can let aside some of the issue of the climate change, because sometimes this become more tempting to get it's about the money and about how actually the some of the a company can get more share through the palm oil, despite sometimes they ignore the risk of the climate change by the way they open the forest, for example, and also the result of this land that cannot be used anymore after use as the palm tree. It cannot be a productive land anymore. They cannot use this for the other plant anymore. So this just some of the issues that we must face together in the ASEAN.
Okay, so thank you a lot, my dear Riska, for accepting our invitation for this first international conference, and we hope to have you in our next activity or event. Thank you a lot. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Please, can you tell something in Spanish? Should we finish in Spanish? Some comments, greeting. Okay.
Bueno. Okay, bueno. Eso todo que quiero explicar sobre la situación en región de sur de Asia, especialmente de parte de organización ASEAN, y todos los problemas hay que enfrentar juntos, ¿no? Y entonces espero que en futuro que tengamos muchas posibilidades para buscar una solución de tema de global como climate change. Y muchas gracias y buenas tardes desde Indonesia.
Muchas gracias. Thank you a lot, Dr. Riska. So we can conclude this meeting by commenting that climate change is not a one size fits all problem. The whole world is profoundly affected, and we need to join our effort to face this problem. So thank you for your attention, and we meet us in the next with our next guest. Thank you.
Thank you very much.